Yeah, okay.
I'll say for a tap into this phone call to find their link.
If they found that, they deserve it.
The part-timers, we just don't have any. It's not like anybody that receives-
I gotta get rid of that. Come on.
Before I leave tonight, we just identify a time.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, Sarah.
Yes.
So I'm just exploring here. So with the board book premiere, so I just went out to the public school website and you have it out there. So I can just use that link, right? I don't have to go anywhere else.
You can if you want to, yeah. In fact, so when you go to the public website and then, I don't know which screen or which link you use, but if you go to the projector, you click on that projector link that's on the agenda on board book. And Jeff will lead, so whatever he clicks on, when he gets to a certain part of the agenda, he'll click on it and it'll change the screen to that part of the agenda.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so however you want to do it.
I'm not sure I see the projector.
If you go to, I don't know which link you clicked on. How did you get there? Did you get there from the main page of the website?
Yep, it says agenda can be found here and there's a link.
Yep, so then you're probably right on it.
Oh, so will Jeff, okay, and then if I go up and click the agenda myself, it looks like I can. Agenda item detail, then I can jump around, it looks like, on my own, right?
Yeah, Yep, so you have probably multiple options because you can log in and you probably have a lot of different things there.
Probably more than I know what to do with. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Ready?
Can you hear me okay? Better? If somebody want to just do a quick sound check with me so I can get my earphones on.
Test 1, 2, mic check, mic check.
Got it. Got it. Thank you, Eric.
Yep. And then Mark, could be like last time, anything for votes, roll call.
All the time, even including attendance. And
Yep, everything.
is that Logan?
Hello. Yeah, sorry.
Logan,
Of a bad
welcome.
angle. Hello.
Yeah, right. You know what, Logan, if you want to move so that the backdrop of the window, there we go.
Was that what I looked like when I sat in front of the patio door?
Yeah. Yeah, we could,
Silhouette.
yep. I'm toggling between two screens and I don't see Nikki yet. Is Nikki on?
I don't think so.
Let's see here.
I do not have the ability to share my screen. So when we do the pledge. That right there.
That won't work.
That won't work?
I can see it, but I can find one.
Well, I tried to, but how do I, okay, never mind. I think I can do it here.
Because it zooms in on the voice it hears, so like
Oh.
last time we saw somebody's force off,
There we go.
there.
That's a nice flag.
It's a good looking flag.
So keep that up until we are done with the pledge.
Yeah, let's do that.
Was there anybody that we knew of not going to be with us tonight? Because I think the one I didn't see yet is Nikki.
Oh, we just received a text message from Nikki that she will not be here.
Okay.
There we go. It's 5:30. So Sarah, if you're ready to go, are we ready to go live and broadcast? Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We are the Owatonna School Board. This is a regular meeting. It's Monday, the 27th of April at 5:30. We will call the meeting to order, and Eric, I'll ask you to do a verbal roll call.
Tim?
Here.
Jolene?
Aye.
Mark?
Here.
Lori?
Here.
Christina?
Here.
And I myself is here. Nikki was alerted, we were alerted earlier, so 6 present. All
Six
but
are
Nikki.
here. Eric, thank you. At this point, you should have a,
Can I just quick step back a second? Can I have a roll call of student rep Logan?
Here.
All right, sorry about that, Logan.
No problem.
So just correct myself, only one absent tonight is Nikki.
very good. And Logan, we're glad you were able to make it with us tonight. At this point, the flag is on your screen. If you would all please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up tonight would be to simply approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Would one of you please introduce a motion to approve the agenda?
Seconded.
Tim made the motion and Eric seconded it. Eric, one more time, it would be a roll call vote.
Correct. Tim,
Aye.
Jolene,
Okay, sorry. I lost my screen for a minute.
Christina,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
and I myself is an aye, 6-0 vote.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 4 tonight is the mission moment. I will turn things over to Mr. Elstad for an introduction with the mission moment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sebring. Toggling between a few different screens here. I apologize for the delay. Tonight it is my pleasure, and I'm going to share a slide with you very quickly here. Around our mission moment tonight. Looks like it's coming up on your screen right now. It is my pleasure tonight as part of our mission moment to talk about a very incredible student that we have attending our Area Learning Center, Vanessa Boyum. Vanessa Boyum was selected this year to be a state MAP STARS officer. MAP is an acronym for Minnesota Alternative Education and Students and performing our students. And there's another piece of it, which is STARS, really talks about how this group comes together to collect perspective from students. They have an opportunity to plan an entire conference together. And Vanessa is a very impressive student that attends our ALC. You can see the quote on the screen that you have in front of you. She's a remarkable student who remains calm, positive, and optimistic in all situations. She's one of the most inclusive people that I've ever met. She makes all students feel as though they belong, treating everybody with dignity and respect. I would echo those comments. I've had a few instances to spend some time with Vanessa and find her to be a very delightful student, but certainly part of our mission when we talk about 21st century learning, as well as a safe and caring community. Members of the board, I would tell you that Vanessa Boyum is going to do great things in her life, and she is going to provide whatever community that she serves in, she will be a cog for the safe and caring part of that community. So at this point, I just wanted to lift Vanessa up. Obviously, she's not able to be here. I hope, Vanessa, you're participating online tonight, but I just wanted to lift you up as a very special student and certainly part of the mission that we share to inspire excellence for every learner every day.
That's terrific. Thank you. And again, Vanessa, if you are in fact listening, congratulations. And on behalf of the board, we're really proud of you. And it's nice to see Mr. Kiefer promoting you in that way. Thank you. Before we go much further, Mr. Elstad, did you make a change? Did you just plug in your earbuds? Because Sarah, did you notice you were very muddied when you came through with your audio. And when you were unplugged, I don't think that you were quite as muddied. Can we try it once?
Is that better?
No, not really.
A little muddy.
Yeah.
We try one other thing.
Oh. Is there, that's not good at all.
Oh,
No,
any better?
no.
A minute, 1 second. How about that?
We have Ryan here trying to help us with this as well.
Mark, I didn't experience the difficulty.
Oh, is
I-
it sounding okay to you?
It did sound a little.
Yeah, it was okay, I
Is
thought.
that better? Because I had an external source on to gather a little more battery. Is that better?
It's good for me, but
I would
Christine?
ask if other board members that are participating via Zoom, can you hear me okay? Thumbs up?
Okay. All right. We'll
Much
continue
better.
on.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. Item 5 tonight is public forum, and we did have actually one submission. And the way we would work this is the public has an opportunity to submit via email. It's here, and we'll ask Mr. Elstad to read the submission from Roger Wasek for public forum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is coming from Roger Wasik, one of our community members. And I quote, "The coronavirus effect on the role school buildings play in our education system made me think of my public input to the Owatonna School Board on the 19th of March, 2019. If the Facilities Task Force doesn't consider the internet's effect on education, then we will have an expensive new obsolete building. An obsolete building if a new high school building isn't planned as part of a hybrid education system. A hybrid education system that includes online schooling, homeschooling, charter schools, private schools, etc. A hybrid education system that serves all members of the community. A much more insidious, albeit invisible threat to the health other than coronavirus is our fossil fuel consumption. The greenhouse gases emitted have dire consequences on the health of the planet. Paul Douglas in TPT-2's Cost of Climate Change in Minnesota comments the planet is running a fever, something I'm reminded of whenever people are checked for a fever caused by the coronavirus when they come into work. With that said, although I have had frequent public input on building an extremely energy efficient high school building and energy efficient renovations of the existing high school building, I've received virtually no verbal or written response. There are many national green building standards, LEED, Energy Star, BREEAM, Living Building Challenge, Green Building Certification Program, etc. I'm asking the school board to keep the school administrators' feet to the fire, starting with an article in the Owatonna People's Press Board of Contributors, an article indicating that the efforts toward certification and at least one of these new and existing energy certification programs for the new high school building and the remodeling of the existing high school building, unquote, signed Roger A. Wasik.
Roger, thank you for submitting your public forum. We appreciate that. We're going to move on to item 6 tonight, which is reports. And the first report tonight comes from Wilson Elementary. I'll turn things back over to Mr. Elstad for some introductions.
Thank you, Chair Sebring, members of the board. Tonight, we have asked Mel Hoffner as principal at Wilson Elementary, along with a couple of other staff members, I believe, that may be with today, to do the annual presentation for Wilson Elementary. So at this point, Mel, I would ask that you share within the Zoom settings so that you could share your presentation.
Can you see it?
no, I can see it on the website.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yep, it came up.
Yes.
Okay, great. I will have Casey Clausen and Annie Cloud go ahead and unmute. And thank you, board, for having us tonight. We appreciate it. And just for the purposes of the Zoom meeting, I will start the presentation, then we will go to Annie Cloud and then Casey Clausen. And Casey Clausen is our teaching and learning coach, and Annie Cloud is one of our EL teachers. So as you can see, we are going to our building goals. Of course, we have 4 building goals, one with high quality teaching and learning, which we're going to focus on tonight, and also safe and caring community, equity, and 21st century learning. We're going to focus on high quality teaching and learning and equity. But I would be remiss to leave out some of the safe and caring school community work that we've done this year regarding, we've been implementing the PTS, the performance tracking system, in a general education setting. And we have experienced incredible success with that. And I just wanted to make sure I acknowledge the staff that were working really hard with that, was Jessica Turnlin, Alicia Field, Allison Prestegard, and their team is helping general ed students be successful, or special ed students be successful in general ed setting. And then of course, the 21st century skills, I think we are all on steroids with that right now. So that's been awesome. I'm going to hand it on over to Annie Cloud.
Thanks, Mel. Again, my name's Annie Cloud. I am the 2nd and 3rd grade EL teacher at Wilson. And tonight I'm going to be sharing on Wilson's commitment to equity. And at Wilson, we are committed to viewing all that we do through the lens of equity. We've had consistent equity learning work as a staff throughout the year by focusing on several different areas. The beginning of our equity work centered around our mindset as a staff, reflecting on what we believe and how do we display these beliefs. And we've also engaged in a staff book study on the book Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain by Zaretta Hammond. And this book draws on cutting-edge neuroscience research that offers an approach to designing and implementing brain-compatible, culturally responsive instruction. We've also had work around understanding multiple perspectives and engaging in courageous conversations around understanding our own biases, microaggressions, and the uncomfortable truths of our white privilege. And while these conversations may be difficult and require vulnerability, they are necessary in continuing to move towards our educational equity in Owatonna. The district also has around 80 staff members attending the Courageous Educator Training in partnership with Minnesota State University Mankato. And Wilson has been also facilitating monthly equity committee meetings for the past few years. And some of the highlights have been understanding our current practices and celebrations and how to make them inclusive of all, as well as exploring and diversifying our literary options for students and staff. And before transitioning to our distance learning, we also began exploring a calendar of holidays and important dates that will bring in more opportunities of cultural understanding and learning. One way we've really focused on providing equity in education is by changing our service model for multilingual students. Research has proven that support from EL students within the general classroom provides far more benefits to students versus the old model of pulling students out of the classroom for direct instruction. So while this specific model may still need to be utilized for some of our new to country or new to English students, our goal is to keep students in the classroom with their peers as much as possible. So therefore, Wilson has shifted to a more inclusive model of teaching multilingual students through co-teaching in math with an EL teacher in one classroom per grade level. So the benefits, as you can see, are numerous, spreading to not only students, but teachers as well. And because all students are academic language learners, all students benefit from the academic language support developed in partnership between the EL and classroom teachers. Co-teaching also provides opportunities for students of all language backgrounds to engage in academic discourse with native English speakers, which is especially important as students develop their fluency and adopt the nuances of an additional language. Flexible groupings are also more feasible. For example, I'm able to take groups of only multilingual students and sometimes a mixture of native and non-native English speakers to do some pre-teaching of necessary language to be successful in the math lessons of that particular day. And co-teaching also allows us to instruct in various teaching models to meet specific student needs. So some examples of that might be team teaching, parallel teaching, alternative groupings, and station teaching. And educational equity is all about giving students what they need to succeed. So when we can increase the access to the grade level content, we are seeing the success with the grade level content. Co-teaching has also benefited me personally as a teacher. I have the opportunity to work collaboratively, and that's made me a better teacher, I think. It's helped leverage the expertise of both the teachers in the classroom. So me being the EL teacher as the language expert and the classroom teacher being the content expert. And it's also helped provide the opportunity to help build capacity for supporting that language development throughout the entire academic day. So when planning with a co-teacher, we're able to sit down and really think about the language that we're expecting students to use. And my master's project was all about the importance of verbal student interaction. So we're always thinking about where in the lesson we want students to talk, what do we want them to talk about, and what types of language supports do they need to be successful in that. And after a while, incorporating these opportunities becomes second nature for many teachers, and I've seen them replicated in other content areas as well outside of math. Lastly, I'd like to share just a few successes that we've seen in math co-teaching over the past 2 years. And in the 2018-2019 school year, our co-taught math section in second grade in the fall had only 26% of students meeting that math benchmark. And after a year of the co-teaching, we saw that grow to 74% of those second graders meeting the benchmark in the spring, which shows some pretty phenomenal growth. And then because of our distance learning, we're only able to share our growth for the 2019-2020 school year from fall to winter currently. But this year in fall 2019 in the second grade co-taught math class, we started at 53% of students meeting that benchmark. And in the winter, we had grown to 68%, with 79% of students showing typical to aggressive growth. And in third grade, fall 2019, in the co-taught math class, 55% of students were meeting the benchmark. And by winter, 60% were meeting the benchmark, with 70% of students showing typical or aggressive growth. And I wish we could have seen the continued growth into spring, but I'm looking forward to continuing my co-teaching partnerships next year in second and third grade, as well as moving forward with Owatonna's commitment to equity. If there are any questions and we have time, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, please feel free to email me. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Annie. I just do want to add that our commitment to equity is having changed outcomes for kids. So we're more than just talking about it. We want to see the results, the systematic results, and just these are some of the amazing and incredible results that Annie and her team are starting to show in our second year. So thank you, Annie. And then we'll move on to Casey Clausen with High Quality Teaching and Learning.
Thanks, Mel. Hi, I am Casey Clausen. I'm the teaching and learning coach at Wilson Elementary. And today I get the pleasure of speaking to all of our high quality teaching and learning things that we have going on here at Wilson. The first thing I want to talk about is reading. The new Fontes and Pinnell classroom resource has been an amazing resource for us to reach a variety of our students. It's really allowed us to nail down exactly what our students need and to guide our instruction on what we need to do next for them. We are able to do minute-to-minute running records. We do those, they're just a way that we track the students' reading progress and see exactly what the student needs to keep moving forward. We do those on a continuous basis. We've also provided a lot of PD around the area of reading and how to best maximize the use of this resource. One thing we pride ourselves at Wilson on is using data to be responsive, whether that's through a PLC or to the next thing that I'm going to talk about, the MTSS structure or our power half. The MTS structure is a multi-tiered system. And what that does is it looks at what does each student need, and then we place adults with kids based on what they need. We say what adult is the best fit to meet this group of students' needs. So what we do is we look at data, we come together, we have a quarterly meeting where we come in and we sit down and we look at data, and then we review that data again in 6 weeks to see if we have to make any changes. We look at the e-reading, A-reading, and A-math, plus we also pull in some press data also that's ongoing with our intervention and classroom teachers. The best thing about this structure is built the capacity of all of our staff to really embrace all of our students. These flexible groups give students just what they need when they need it. Instead of us waiting to the next benchmark, we're constantly checking in with kids to see what they need. Lastly, our data on rising scholars. We have 3 classrooms, a 3rd grade classroom, a 4th grade classroom, and a 5th grade classroom that is part of the Rising Scholars program. And our students have made the most growth district-wide at Wilson Elementary. And it's no doubt due to the high quality teaching and learning of those staff that support those students. We want to showcase just a little bit of our growth here. This graph that you're looking at is the e-reading scores in kindergarten fall to winter growth. And this data shows that we are closing the achievement gap. The blue is the fall data and the green is the winter data. So as you can see, in all areas, we made significant growth. Honestly, we look at this and we're really working hard to replicate this across 1st through 5th. We know that it's best, early intervention is best, and the earliest that we can get students where they need to be, the better. So we're really looking at what decisions are we making here? What supports do we have in place? And what else do we need to do in our system to make changes for students? The next graph, you are looking at just a comprehensive, again, fall to winter growth. Unfortunately, we don't have that spring data, but the fall to winter growth on e-reading for K1, and then our 2nd through 5th A reading, and last, our 2nd through 5th A math. Our e-reading scores went from 52% to 62%. Our A reading from 2nd grade through 5th grade went from 59% to 62%. And our A math went from 58% to 63%. We know this work is going to take some time, and we're hoping that we can continue to get the growth that we've seen with all the systems that we have in place at Wilson. If you have any questions at the end, I'd be happy to answer any. Thank you.
Yep, and then I'll just go through these slides. These are not the ones we're highlighting just for the sake of time. And if you have questions at the end, feel free to ask. All right, I will. Any questions for us?
Yeah, we'll open it up to the board members. Any questions? Casey, I have a question for you. On that last slide where you were giving us the rate of improvement, there was an E and then there was an A prefix on each of those. Can you help us? Can you describe
I would
that
love
for us?
to. E is for early reading, and our students in kindergarten and 1st grade take that test. And then the A reading is given in 2nd through 5th. The A math test is also a 2nd through 5th grade test.
Okay. And those numbers, the 55% and the 70% and so on, is that the proficiency level? The number of students that are reading at proficiency or doing math at proficiency? Is that what that represents?
That would represent the ones that made benchmark for that screening period.
Okay.
I have a question maybe for Annie. I was curious as you were talking about your EL classroom. So I thought I heard you say there's one co-teaching partnership per grade level. Is that right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So do you have all the EL students like in your math class then? Is that how that works? I mean, do they all congregate in your class at a given grade level?
Great question. Did I miss a little more of your question? I saw your mouth moving and then I couldn't hear anything.
I think my screen froze too. So yeah, okay. My question was just trying to understand if all the EL students at your grade level are congregating in one of the classrooms or where the co-teacher is, or are they sprinkled throughout other classrooms?
Sure. So we have, in my grade levels of 2nd and 3rd grade, we have very high numbers of students receiving EL services. So we're actually spread out. I see students in every classroom. So I have 6 different classrooms that I provide services for, but only one teacher in 2nd grade and one teacher in 3rd grade. I'm doing the co-teaching in math. And then the other 4 teachers, I usually see their students during a literacy block or could be during a different content area to provide service.
Okay, great, that's helpful. And then I don't know if it's, could you comment about how things are going today in this environment? I couldn't help but notice, of course, the, you know, the stats and stuff are changing and it's a different world today. Any comments about how it's going today, given the challenges we have?
Yeah, I think every family is so different in our schools, and so we're really looking at how we can best support each family, and that looks so different for everyone. So we're just trying to figure out what do kids need, what do families need, and support them where they're at. And that might mean some kids only get their reading assignment done for that day. And there are some kids that are doing reading, math, PE, art, and all the extras. But we are just trying to be really understanding that online learning is hard to be very equitable for all students. But we're doing the best we can right now with what we have.
Sure. Thank
We
you.
also at Wilson have, every family has a check and connect person outside of the classroom teacher, especially in the beginning, because we were trying to remove as many barriers as possible. So we were helping set up internet. We were helping get technology out. We were dropping hotspots off at houses. We were helping students and families with Anna and Muna, our success coaches, saying, okay, that button on the top with the circle and the line is the power on. 2, students that are saying, we want more, we want more. So we provided a variety of supports, but every week our check and connect folks check in with the families. And then we've been doing weekly collaboration, discussing what student needs are, what can we do different? If we haven't seen a student on, what do we need to do to connect with them? So far, every student at Wilson has been online with the exception of 1.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to speak about the teaching aspect. If you would have told me that some of my teachers would have been doing an online class, I would have laughed. This has been a huge learning curve for all of us. I can't tell you how many times they're calling me, asking me, how do I do this? How do I do this? And it's been so exciting because I'm very passionate about technology. And now to see teachers really branching out and thinking, how can we do education different? They're constantly asking for different ideas on how they can reach their kids. And the thing I love about it is they're always bringing back the student perspective. They're saying, oh, my student had a hard time with this. How can we change this? And so that's been a really empowering part of this experience. Some of my older teachers said that they should have maybe retired before the pandemic. But you know what? I have to say those teachers are so amazing at really branching out in their areas. They're producing videos that I'm like, how did you do that? And so it's been really a huge growth for all teachers. And then I think as a parent, it's been a really large growth for a parent to try to support online learning too. Like Mel said, I'm part of the check-in process also, the check and connect. And I've heard from families so many positive things over this pandemic. I am so proud to be a part of the Owatonna Public Schools because I have friends in many different districts and they do not feel as successful as what we feel. And their parents are not giving the feedback that our parents are giving. And I'm really proud that we're able to really look at this from a lens of we're looking at who we service and then making changes accordingly. I would say every staff member at Wilson has done their best to really make sure they're reaching out to everybody. I also have to say, I talked to the parent yesterday who has 4 kids at home. And she talked about how this week, starting on a Monday, was a little bit tough. And it's nice out and it was a little bit tough. And just talking with her, I had a 45-minute conversation on how I understand. It is hard when it gets nice out. It is hard when, now I think that the novelty of us seeing each other on the screen has maybe wore off a little bit for some of our little kids. And so we really talked about how can she really create a structure at home to help that learning continue. So it's amazing just to see what educators can do in such a short time.
Board members, any other questions? My last parting question, Mel, is for you. Do you offhand know how many different languages you have at Wilson right now?
Annie, are we thinking 10 at least?
I would say between the 10 and 15 would be my guess.
Is it? Well, congratulations. And that Check and Connect really sounds like a terrific way to at least maintain that line of communication with the families. Thank you very much. With that, unless I hear any other board members with questions, we'll move on. Oh, and Mr. Elstad has a couple of comments to finish
I
up.
always have something to say about presentations, and I'm very proud of our staff and students and families. I really want to just comment about, what Annie talked about with equity. The Wilson Elementary staff has really embraced what we call the moral imperative around equity, that all of our students are getting what they need, regardless of their background. But we're embracing our understanding of what the role of whiteness is. We're embracing the privilege that we've enjoyed, and also how that impacts our families. So I want to just, again, provide kudos to Annie and the rest of the Wilson staff and Mel as well, that for their leadership around this moral imperative. The second part is I was able to sit in a grade level meeting with Casey Clausen when she was working with a grade level earlier this year. And it was just like a well-oiled machine. It was going through data, but it wasn't just broad data. It was individual student data, and they were teachers and Casey were strategizing around how do we best serve this student, not a grade level, this student. So I appreciate the work that you're all doing. Casey and Annie, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Mel, appreciate your leadership. And I'm very proud of this elementary school and the work that they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Wilson School, thank you very much. We'll move on to item B. And once again, I'm going to turn things back over to Mr. Elstad for some introductions with the ALC.
Thank you. Tonight, we also have joining us Jim Kiefer, who's the principal of the Owatonna ALC. And I would just add that if you followed some of the articles and so on, Jim is certainly building such a high quality environment for our students at the ALC. And so Jim's here to tell you a little bit about some of the work they've been doing. So at this point, I would turn it over to Mr. Kiefer and allow him to share his screen so he can share some highlights of our work at the ALC. Thank you, Mr. Kiefer.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, you can see the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. First, the main slide at the beginning, I put the title on there like that on purpose. A lot of people are not aware that attendance at the ALC is a choice. I've run into people saying, things that they just don't understand what they're saying. Those kids have to go there or anything along those lines. And that is not the case. There's so many things wrong with that statement on so many levels that we then have some great conversations, but it is a school of choice. The students want to be here. Our enrollment continues to rise. This year we've been hovering right at about 90 students. In this presentation, I'm basically going to give you a little insight into our world. I'm going to talk about our kids, the initiatives we have, and relationships. As far as demographics, I don't want to get into numbers. What I want to tell you is our kids are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. They're hardworking. They're resilient. They are truly amazing students. And I say the hardworking part because many of my students come to school from the beginning of the day until 2:40, and then they're on the job site at 3 o'clock and they work till 10 or 11 at night, and they come back the next day and repeat, because a lot of my students do have to work full-time jobs for any number of reasons. And they come in and they bring everything when they walk in the door. So we're so proud of our students. A couple of the pictures on there right now are just from a couple of the service projects we do, and I'll talk about that later as I'll go by. But we do so many service projects out in the community: Advocates for Developmental Disabilities, Toys for Tots. You can see Habitat for Humanity there on the right. They're working on building a house. Lincoln Elementary School is matched up with us for numerous situations. You can see my students in the background there skating with kids. My students are out, and even though they're working long hours and going to school, they are all in whenever it comes time to doing service. the one thing that they do have in common is that something in life is taking them off track for graduation. So that is a common thread. When I talk about our kids, what I mean most of all, what every person needs, and I think this is regardless of age, is to know, do I belong? And a lot of my students, when they first walk in the door, they maybe don't have a history of feeling as though they belong. And they walk in the door and we pull them in with open arms, because they want to know, when you walk down the hallway and they make eye contact, they know right away, are you judging me? Are you not judging me? Do you like me? Do you respect me? Are you welcoming me? Do I belong? And that's one thing that I cannot say enough about this staff, is my staff is constantly pulling kids closer, and they treat every student with respect, and they have adult conversations with students, and the students know that they belong. As my students walk through the hall, they see themselves in every facet of this building, from pictures on the wall. Do I see students that look like me? Do I see myself on the wall? Am I represented in the content? Do I have a voice in my classroom? Do I get to participate? Do I get to be heard? Do I truly belong here? And then if things don't go well, do you push me away? Do you send me away? Do you send me to the office? Or do you pull me closer? Do you give me pre-forgiveness for mistakes? Do you give me forgiveness afterwards? Do you realize that I'm a human being, and do you continue to pull me closer? So that's one thing that's about this ALC that I love, respect, and adore, is this culture is one where everybody belongs. I'm going to zip through a number of initiatives that we've done. However, I'm only going to focus on 2 of them, and I'll let you know at the end of those. If at the end you have questions on the other initiatives, I will come back and answer any of those that you have. The very first thing that I did with my staff when we started here was trauma training and ACEs training. This is one of the 2 I'm going to talk about later. I think it's absolutely imperative, and I think every school should do it. When we were at Willow Creek, we did it there as well. We also do have PBIS in place, positive behavioral interventions and supports. I know other administrators have talked about that in their buildings. I talked about service projects. We get out in the community as much as possible. Like in that picture right there, the little kids look at my students with huge eyes of awe and respect. And it's a win-win situation, because everyone needs to realize that they're a positive leader. We also match with the early childhood program upstairs, where some of my students are job shadowing teachers, and so they can serve little kids in that capacity as well. As far as technology initiatives, 2 years ago, when we switched our technology, all of my staff jumped on board and implemented Schoology for distance learning, so students were able to be involved even if they were not physically present. We also have Edgenuity, which is a credit recovery software. As you saw with Vanessa Boyum, we have MapStars. That's our version of a student council. The nice thing about MapStars is anybody and everybody can participate. So it's a fluid roster, anyone is invited. We have the School to Work program with Anisha Zock. I know she's talked to you before as well. We also have the Early Middle College program, which is very much like the high school's PSEO program. Another initiative we have is the AVID. Last year, we worked on focused note-taking. This next summer, we're going to be going into culturally responsive training. I know this is quite a list that I'm rattling off, but these are all things that make us what we are as far as a culture. The next initiative, and I don't even like to call it initiative, because it should not be an initiative, it should be a culture. And this is the second one I'm going to talk about, is racial equity with respect to courageous educators, courageous leaders, and how we implement those things. So that's the second one I'll come back and elaborate upon. We also implement responsive classroom strategies. A number of my staff have gone through CLEAR training with Martina, and she's talked to you about that, the culturally linguistic responsive training through equity and achievement. We also utilize restorative practices in our building. And this year we've begun the MIRRS, Minnesota Early Indicator and Response System. And really what that is, it's a way of tracking conversations to make sure that we're having positive conversations with students whenever possible, and we can see a log of that. So we're collecting data with respect to conversations and making sure that we have students receiving all sorts of positive feedback. The 2 that I'm going to go back to trauma training, and equity. The reason why I want to focus on these two to me are the absolute most important. If you look at the other initiatives, a lot of them are designed to provide supports to students, and it's focused on giving opportunities to students. The trauma training and the equity training is actually looking internally. It's a matter of changing ourselves. And to me, that is the absolute most powerful thing we can do. We've got, I can think over the years, all different sorts of initiatives, and we're going to do this and do this. But every time we look at, ways in which we're going to address students, we're looking at it from a deficit point of view, and the gap continues. And it's really not until we look at ourselves and our own perspectives and how those manifest in our conversations and behaviors that we're truly going to make changes. So with trauma training, it's so important to understand what's happening. A lot of students, and it's not just at the ALC, when I was at Willow Creek, we did it as well. They've experienced significant trauma, and they come to us having experienced significant trauma. And that means when they're in our building, some of their behaviors may come out sideways. And it's not due to anything that they've done, just how do you compartmentalize and keep that in place? Or some of our students are going through what's called reenactments, where they're actually trying to sabotage a relationship just to see if you're going to be there. And so trauma training is so important, because what it does is when we experience something, really we're not assessing, and this is a phrase I've heard and it really makes sense to me, we're not thinking what's wrong with you. We're thinking, oh, poor thing, what's happened to you? Because there's a level of compassion and empathy. And then we examine our own perspectives. Am I starting to get agitated? Is my blood pressure rising? Why is that? Why am I taking this personally? Why is my own pride getting in the way? Because really my pride doesn't belong in this. It has nothing to do with me. So why am I starting to enter into conflict mode when really I need to de-escalate by asking questions and getting to know this person and helping to understand them? So trauma training, to me, I believe every educator should go through extensively, because truly what it does is it forces us to look internally at, why am I responding the way I am, and why is my pride in the way? With respect to racial equity, Mr. Elstead, 3 years ago when he first came here, and I don't know if he tells people this, he challenged every administrator to keep an equity journal, a racial equity journal. And what he said was, I would like you to go through your day, and as you experience situations or conversations in which race may have been a factor, I want you to journal about that. And I took that challenge to heart. And at the beginning, I didn't see much. And as I went on, I saw more and more. And now I go through my day and it's everywhere. And that wouldn't have happened had I not been challenged to truly look for it. And once I've looked for it, I now see things that other people see without having to look for it, because they're living it every single day. This year, my staff, I gave journals to, and first I talked about the journaling, and then I shared some of my entries, and I shared some from experiences I've had in school, as well as experiences I've had out of school, where race was definitely part of a situation or a conversation. And once I had shared those, my staff jumped on board enthusiastically. And so they each took a journal. And now we talk about our entries on Mondays. We read some of our entries, which takes a lot of vulnerability and transparency, because we're examining our own mindsets. And again, this is why I think that second of these two initiatives, I think, are the most important, because this one makes us look inside and how do we look at the world? Because our perspectives are definitely maybe not going to be the same. They're definitely not the same as our students, because our experiences are not the same. And this forces us to really stop and listen, and to make sure that the students feel heard. So for me, those are the absolute greatest initiatives we have. At first, at the beginning of the year, the conversations on those Mondays, they were slow and there was a lot of wait time. And now they're free flowing and rapid and transparent and honest. And people are really putting themselves out there. And it's been absolutely wonderful. So for me, the common thread, it all comes down to relationships. And I know Mr. Elstead has said this countless times through all the different board meetings and cabinet meetings and everything, and leadership meetings. It is about relationships. And I think way back when I was a young administrator, the phrase was out there, and it was a real common phrase, you know, they don't know what you care until or they don't care what you know until they know you care. And it's true. If you look at a student and you dismiss them with your eyes because of your thoughts, they know. And then they're really not going to care. And it's because my staff is so adept at building relationships that when a student walks in the door, in under a second, we can read their body language and we know where they're at. And right away, we pull them closer. So my staff knows strongly that what we have here is important. What we offer students is important. And we have a strong belief in these students. And we're not going to push them away or judge them. We're going to pull them closer. And that literally means every single student, because as soon as you write off a student, everyone around there sees that. And then they realize that's how it really is. So for my staff, you know, I talked about how students are resilient. My staff is unbelievably resilient as well, because they are relentless. They have this unconditional desire and love to help our students and to draw out their voices. We listen to our students, we pull them closer, we get to know them. So there at the bottom, I put our mission is that every person feels heard and valued every moment of every day. And that's how we inspire excellence.
Ready for questions there, Jim?
Yeah, it's quite a monologue, so it's probably good that you can talk for a while.
Board members, there's got to be some questions.
Right, I'll start. Actually, it's more of a comment, Jim, maybe just a reflection. I always look forward to your presentation. I just want to tell you how your heartfelt, you know, sincerity and leadership really comes through. It's really, yeah, it's just very inspiring to listen to you talk about your building and your kids and your teachers and the culture that's being created there. I was just reflecting back. I think you even taught some of my kids math back at the high school years and years ago.
It wasn't that many years ago. Come on.
Well, a few years ago. And I guess, Mike, it really is just a comment and a compliment to you. Is it appears to me and it feels to me as though we're really utilizing you the very best that we can as a district, and it's exciting to see your gifts and talents put to use in that building. So, congratulations to you. I think it's very exciting.
Thank you.
Other board members, questions? I'll echo Lori's sentiments, Jim. It's always nice to hear. And it's interesting because we had the benefit of hearing from Mel just before you, and just knowing, you know, a little bit about how Mel's perspective was and how her approach was at the ALC. And I continue to feel that, you know, a tremendous amount of the success that you enjoy is really built on the foundation that she had established there as well, which I think is really neat. As always, I'm going to turn things back over to Mr. Elstad for some closing comments.
I'm going to jump in really quick, if you don't mind. I would agree. Mel has just a relentless desire and mission to advocate for kids and equity. And I'm also going to toss out a sincere gratitude to Jeff, because when he came here 3 years ago and challenged us to think differently, there's a movement that started at that time. And I know he's not really good at accepting things, and he's probably not enjoying the fact that I stepped in at this point, but he challenged us to think differently and to realize that it is about relationships and not what books or curriculum we can put in front of kids.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you for putting in that little anecdote in there right before I could jump in. I'm very proud of the work that has happened at the ALC. I'm very proud of Mr. Kiefer and his staff. But mostly I would aim this at Mr. Kiefer for his tireless work and leadership to create a culture at the ALC of acceptance. There's a reason why our ALC numbers continue to go up, and it's not maybe all Owatonna students. We have a lot of students from other districts that choose to attend our Area Learning Center. And part of it is because Mr. Kiefer has created that culture where they can be successful and they're accepted for who they are and given lots of flexibility to learn how they need to learn. But in the end, it's really not a sprint for our students, it's a marathon. And they get to the end of that race and they're all successful. Hats off to you, Mr. Kiefer, and to the ALC staff for the tireless work you do to make sure all of our students feel that acceptance so that they're heard. And you do inspire excellence every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, thank you very much. That was great to hear. We will move on. Item 7 tonight is general information. The first one would be the enrollment report. Board members, anybody have any questions for Mr. Elstad or members of his staff with regard to what you saw in the enrollment report? And hearing none, I'll ask that same question with regard to that City of Owatonna, the public hearing as it related to that apartment complex. Any questions with regard to that? Okay, hearing none. We'll continue on. Item 7 tonight is discussion items, no action required by us at the board. And with board forum, as you appear on my screen, I'll go around the horn. Lori, I see you're up first on my screen. Any comments for board forum tonight?
Nope, not tonight.
Eric, how about you?
Nothing at this time.
Okay, Christina?
I didn't have anything today.
All right, thank you. Tim, how about you?
Nothing for me.
Jolene?
No, not today.
Logan, you're not going to get off this easy. Tell us about distance learning, Logan.
Well, I don't like it, but I mean, I can put up with it. My sleep schedule has changed a lot, so that's a positive. I'm upset that I can't do my lifetime activity class. I was looking forward to kayaking, but I mean, yeah, I enjoy it a little.
The sleeping in thing agrees with you though, huh?
Yes, I really like the sleeping in the part, but
Good for you. And with that, anybody, board members, anything else to add there? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Elstad. Any questions that you might have for him with regard to the administrative report?
Thank you, Mr. Sebring. I just wanted to provide some brief updates for you tonight regarding our district response to the pandemic, and then open it up for any questions you might have. I do have a number of our cabinet members available tonight for conversation, but I'll just give you a brief overview. Distance learning updates. Obviously, last week, Governor Walz ordered all schools to maintain their efforts with distance learning through the remainder of the school year. With that, we were able to adhere to Governor Walz's order. So this Friday, May 1st, and next Monday, May 4th, will be additional preparation days as our staff continues to identify ways to conduct distance learning for the remainder of the school year. I would also add for you that we continue to provide meals for our students. In fact, as of last week, we are averaging providing 11,000 meals every week for our students. That number has gone up precipitously. Our community and students and families are taking advantage of it. And great work by our student nutrition staff, as well as Amanda Heilman, to carry that out. childcare updates. So we have been serving students in what we have now termed Tier 1 and Tier 2, which would be our emergency services workers, as well as essential employees in our community. And we've seen a small amount of students. We've been running between 20 and 25 students. Because we want to continue to provide care and options for families, as of next Monday, we are opening up our childcare system to all of our families that might be interested. I would add that if families are choosing to participate in that care, that we have been given the opportunity by the Department of Education to charge a small fee. So we would be charging for, I believe it's before school and after school. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's like $10 or $15 a day per child to enjoy that part of it. We are looking, though, as we move into the summertime situation where we would fully put our school summer care in place. That is a tuition-based program because it is actually a break-even proposition for our school district to provide that child care. Other summer programs we have not heard a lot about. We're still waiting for additional guidance from the Commissioner of Education on what those summer programs will look like. What we are looking at is what systems are a priority for us. It's obviously serving our students that are in the process of credit recovery for our high school and even ALC students. We want to continue to provide that service so that we can have students maintaining their efforts toward graduation. But as far as the kindergarten through 8th grade summer program, that will have to be, again, direct guidance from the department, considering the precautions that we may have to take. One of the anecdotal comments that we've received around summer programming is, and I think we're hearing more, you heard it from Wilson, you even heard it from Logan tonight, distance learning is a real challenge for a number of our families and students. And to say that we're going to now proceed with additional distance learning all summer long for our students, especially those that may struggle, could be a real challenge for us. And so we have to look at the guidance we're getting from the Department of Education. But in addition, we're also looking at just the viability of it. Is it going to be successful? Can we provide some guidance so that we don't experience a lot of regression? Obviously, education is going to be impacted. We're missing a component of education this spring that we simply can't replicate online. So we'll see what the students bring to us in the fall. But again, summer programming for us is probably going to be somewhat repressed this year, we believe. At this point, if there are any additional distance learning updates that I missed, I know Michelle Krell is on our meeting tonight. Michelle, was there anything you wanted to add in addition to the overview I gave regarding distance learning?
I think just that we have surveyed our elementary families. We started surveying them today just to see how things were going. The survey at this point is coming out very, very positive as far as, I think that they believe that, I think our teachers are doing an outstanding job. I think Mel indicated how they have a check and connect and we're connecting with all families, and that's happening, across the board. And so just looking at some of the preliminary results of the survey, obviously it's only been a day that it's been out, but we have several respondents. I think that 96% believe that their teacher is easy to respond. They respond to their questions and their concerns. They also feel that, we've made it as simple as possible. 92% believe that they're able to access the materials digitally or through the paper. We asked the question, is the amount of work, that's the trickiest part, is the amount of work we're giving you, is it okay? And we have about 76% that believe we give just the right amount of work, and then it's equal on either end, too much or too little on the other rest of that percentage. I think that certainly having our students in front of us would be the best, but there isn't much we can do about that. I think Logan indicated how he's missing out on one class he was really looking forward to, kayaking. And I think that's our teachers and our students work so hard throughout the whole school year to get to May and May is a time for us to celebrate and to really enjoy things like track and field and field trips and picnics and banquets and prom and graduation and all of those things. I think that at this point, we're all feeling a lot of loss as we move into the last month of distance learning. But I can't begin to tell you how thankful I am for the staff and the hard work. They are doing an outstanding job. And I think Casey Clausen said it best. She said our teachers have risen to the occasion and are doing outstanding things, and they're being innovative, and that continues. And so we continue to tweak. We try to gather feedback, and the principals, administrators are doing a great job of supporting students and families and doing whatever it takes to ensure that we're doing what we need to for students and families.
Thank you, Michelle. I know Amanda's on the line as well. We talked a little bit about meal distribution. Amanda, is there anything you'd want to add to the comments I made regarding kind of operations of our district?
Yeah, just a couple. So next week, actually, we're trying to expand options for families for food that's available at the site. So next week, we're actually going to serve hot meals on Wednesday and Friday at all of our drive-up locations. So at Wilson, the middle school, and McKinley will have hot meals. And so we're going to try to do that at least 2 times a week moving forward through May, just to give our families a little bit more variety in the food that we're able to serve during the week. And as Jeff mentioned, we've served over 41,000 meals since March 18th, since we implemented the program. So
That's amazing. That is an amazing stat, and what a great service to our community. And I'm so happy when I go to those meal sites. There's nothing better than seeing the kids come up and get their meals. And I probably kind of scare them, because I can't wait to see them, and I kind of get in their face and say, hi, because we miss kids. And when we get to see kids at those meal pickup locations, it does warm our heart to just at least see them. So the last thing I would add, and again, I know that Danielle and Chris are both on. I don't know if we have any other updates in regard to special services or human resources at this time. I'll pause and ask if either of you have a update you want to share. We're good. Okay, very good. Thank you. Just one other note, Logan, this will be something you've heard about. So this Friday, our staff is going to be, our high school staff, and I think our ALC is participating as well, are delivering caps and gowns this Friday to seniors, and also a yard sign that they can put in their yard to recognize them as seniors. And what a great opportunity. We miss our kids, but at least being able to hand off the cap and gown. We haven't made any final plans with graduation yet. Mr. Kath and his staff are working through some viable solutions, and they are going to be identifying what we believe are the parameters that we need to follow. But the most important part is that Mr. Kath will be gathering student perspective on those ideas so that we can have a student-run ceremony. Our graduation has always been about our students and will continue to be about our students. So they will have feedback that they will provide Mr. Kath, and we will certainly have to monitor the parameters that we're given, but at least provide, again, student that voice and choice in that decision. So I don't have anything further with it in regard to administrative report right now. Thank you. Questions? I guess I would open up for questions.
Okay, hearing none. You have an item B1 here, pandemic district response and updates. Did most of what you want to have covered, was that addressed in this pandemic response as well? Is there anything else you wanted to talk about with regard to legislation or anything else?
I do have one other legislative update. Thank you. I failed to mention that previously. We have been working diligently to protect the economic interest of our district, but also protect the economic interest of our community. And we've been working again diligently with our local legislators, both Senator Jasinski and Representative Petersburg. They have both authored bills within their respective places of legislation that we would be looking for a renewal of our current operating levy and offering our school district. And by the way, I think there are 8 other districts in the state of Minnesota that are in the same situation, where we would be allowed to at least just continue our current levy through the rest of this year as well, so that it would sunset in November of 21 is when we would have to go back out to offer up a formal vote. We're uncertain of our election in November. I think it has all of us fearful as to how that might play out. And I did send a note off to our board members today indicating that if they would please advocate on behalf of Senate File 4465 and House File 45559. Again, what we're seeking right now is not anything new. We're seeking just an extension of our renewal because it allows us an opportunity to gather ourselves and perhaps our economy to gather itself before we were to take specific action in November of 2021. And so I would ask you to advocate on behalf of that. And again, for the vitality, economic vitality of our community. Again, we're not asking for taxpayer anymore. We're simply asking to just maintain what we've got. So with that, I just wanted to make sure that board members are aware of what that looks like and how we were advocating as a district.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Elstad on that? Okay, hearing none. We will move on. Item 9 tonight is the consent agenda. And as always, we would be approving the minutes from March 30th and April 13th, as well as the disbursement and personnel report. Does anybody want to request that we would pull any of these items out to be voted on separately? Hearing none. I will make the motion then that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm checking with Sarah to make sure that she got that. She did. It's been moved and seconded. Eric, would you please do the roll call vote for us, please?
You bet. Tim?
Aye.
Jolene?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And I myself is an aye. 6-0.
Motion carries. Thanks, Eric. Item 10 tonight, there are a couple of items for board action that we're going to talk about. First item on there would be the 2021-2022 school calendar. Once again, Mr. Elstad.
Thank you, Mr. Seaving, members of the board. Tonight you're being presented the 2021-2022 calendar. Although it seems like we've been living the movie Groundhog Day and that we've been consumed just in kind of the same ritual that we've been going through in regard to the pandemic, we do have to start moving forward and making plans for upcoming years. What I would lift up to you is we do have a copy within your packet tonight of that calendar that demonstrates for you that we would indeed be looking for an pre-Labor Day start again. We are allowed that option by statute because we do have a project within our district that is valued at $400,000 or more. So we would be looking to start with our students actually on, as it were, I'm just trying to identify here, it looks like the 30th of August would be our first day with high school students. 31st then, and again, Labor Day is a later start. So August 6th is the Labor Day piece there. All of our typical sort of breaks in instruction exist within this calendar. The last day of school would be Thursday, June 2nd. Would be Thursday, June 2nd. And again, at this point, I would have Michelle Krell, who will work diligently as well to help put this calendar together. I would pause and ask if, upon your review, if you have any questions as board members as to your consideration of the 21-22 school calendar.
Board members, anybody have a question?
Jeff, just a quick question, if you know. So this looks fairly consistent with where we've been, at least for the upcoming school year, for the 2021 calendar year. Can you just remind us, what are the number of education days we're required to have, and what does this calendar provide? And are there any, is there the snow day concern and some of those issues? Can you just address how there's room
Yeah, I
for those
think we
issues?
have I'm going to turn to Michelle too, but I think we have 170, is it 6 student contact days in this calendar, Michelle?
I know, I was just gonna pull that up. I think that student days, I believe, and maybe Chris can help me with this number. I didn't pull up our data sheet, but seems like it's 176 or 178, and
Yep.
then 193 total teacher and student days combined.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Lori, it obviously meets all of the specifications. You know, Amanda Hellman also checks the number of days of instruction because we have to collect average daily membership, and we do have minimums set forth by the state. And so our cabinet has reviewed this calendar many times and gone through it and again and again and again until we reached a time where we knew we had a product that we could give to the board that meets all those specifications. So I believe there's 176 student contact days.
179.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. 179 student contact.
Days, 193 total days. And that includes then also the 6 paid holidays for teachers.
Correct.
193.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yep.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Elstad with regard to the school calendar? Okay, hearing none. With that, I'll make the motion that we approve the 2021-2022 school calendar as presented.
Second.
Sarah got the second. We have a motion and a second. Eric, one more time, a roll call vote, please.
Yep. Tim?
Aye.
Jolene?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And I myself, is an aye. 6-0 vote.
Motion carries. Eric, thank you very much. Item B is the school board policy revisions. We had several opportunities with the readings, and this affords us one last opportunity for members of the policy committee to answer any questions that we might have with regard to the policies as they've been presented. Any questions? I'm looking to see if the motion is.
Pardon me.
Oh, no. All right, well, I'm going to turn I'll do this. I will make the motion then that we approve that we would approve the school board policies as presented regarding school board policy 419 on the tobacco-free environment, school board policy 541 regarding service animals, and school board policy 750 as it relates to debt compliance. Is there a second?
Second.
Jolene
Lori?
seconded.
Jolene made the second? Okay. Has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Eric, roll call vote, please.
Tim?
Aye.
Jolene?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And I myself, is an aye. 6-0 vote again.
Motion carries. Thanks, Eric. Last item tonight would be gifts to the district. One last time, Mr. Elstad.
Thank you. We do have a few gifts to recognize tonight for the board. We have a rather large bill for a new harp coming in from the Music Boosters of Owatonna, totaling over $3,912. We had a couple of anonymous, and $1,000 from Barry and Jesse Hess for our Owatonna High School band. We continue to get donations from families. This happens to be from the Gettle family of $200 for nutrition services to help uncovered meal balances. And then a small check from Coca-Cola that is part of a gives program that they have. So I would offer up these gifts for board consideration tonight.
Board members, any questions? Hearing none, I'll make the motion that school board accept the gifts as presented by Mr. Elstad and contained in your report for tonight. Is there a second?
Second.
Jolene made the second. Any further discussion? Eric, last time. Roll call
Tim.
vote, please.
Aye.
Jolene,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Christina,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
and I myself's an aye. 6-0 vote.
Motion carries. Before we adjourn, anybody have anything else to add for the good of the order? This is kind of difficult with these Zoom meetings to see your body language and just double check to make sure anybody has anything else to add. But with that, not hearing anybody say anything, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Ann has made the motion. Eric made the second. Last time, Eric, roll call vote for us, please.
Tim,
Aye.
Jolene,
Aye.
Christina,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
and I myself's an aye. 6-0.
Motion carries. Look forward to seeing all of you again in person. Good meeting tonight, folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Be safe.
Good night.